do this. Boom! All right, what's equality? Straight up, like, what is it? What are we talking about? This is a word you've all heard. It's got a little symbol that goes with it. What's the little symbol?
Equal.
Yeah, what does it look like?
Two
lines. Two parallel lines in what direction?
Horizontally.
Horizontally. That's equality. That right there. Done. So what is it? It's the equal sign.
Simple as pi.
Yeah, simple is, well, much simpler than pi, because pi's a lot more numbers. What is equality, though? Not in just like a math sense, but just generally.
I think it reminds me of the golden rule, honestly. Treat others the way you want it to be treated.
Yeah, so it's definitely tied in there. And when you're saying others are being treated like you, why are you saying that?
Because not all the people have the same rights.
Yeah, so there's this sense in which really what the golden rule is saying is when you're treating others the way you want to be treated, you're treating everyone equally. You're saying everyone gets equal treatment. So what else are we talking about with equality? Not just in terms of like the more general sense. Yeah, so there's this idea with rights tied in with it. So it's rights of just like how you get treated.
Yeah, I agree, but I think that more than like them having rights is about why they should have rights. It's because like everybody should have equal rights, but because the value, everybody has the same value as a person. Not necessarily because one person is better than another person or one person deserves it more than another person. It's because everybody should have the same value.
Yeah, so there's a sense in which, and this goes back, remember when we talked about Kant, where everyone is an end in themselves? That's the idea here. It's just every human being, because we're all human beings and we have hopes and wants and dreams, that's what really, like, because of that, there's a sense in which we're equal. There's a sense in which any person you put on this side is also going to be over on this side. So, you know, you draw one person here, then there's a sense in which they're also over here.
What about opportunities?
So yeah, so this is what we're going to be coming back to a lot, is there's a sense in which equality is very much something we care about in the case of opportunity. And so I'm going to put this one up here too. So right now, the way we can think about equality is we've got this equal sign up here, which can be applied to a whole bunch of different things, including things in mathematics, like 3 plus 3 equals 6. Simple. It's just, all equality is, in this sense, is just two things being the same. And so within this, the number of things that get covered by equal signs, within that, there's this one, which is like when we're talking about equality in like a society or the importance of equality. We're generally talking about it in this sort of like big capital E, equality. We want equality before the law. We want equality of opportunity. We want equality in all of these senses. But there are other senses in which human beings, well, what's the opposite of equality?
Inequality.
Inequality. So yeah, the opposite of equality is just inequality. And there's the thing about equality, and is it good or is it bad? So, one thing to keep in mind is all these sorts of cases we're talking about with these types of equality are the things that we're pointing to and we're like, oh, that is a good type of equality. And this is one that people generally think are important and good. Like we want equality of our rights before the law, or the equality of treatment, or being valued equally, or have equal opportunities to succeed. But not every aspect about the world is equal, and not every aspect of the world is something we want to be equal. So when we're talking about good equality, we're generally talking about these sorts of things. But there's other ways in which human beings are unequal that we're not in any way upset with. So what are some ways that humans are not all equal, but it's also just one of those things where they're not like big picture like equality in this sense. They're more just things that we like kind of are just like, yeah, we're different.
Like height?
Yeah, so height is one.
Of course.
There's certain types of things that like, the sense in which things are good or bad, it depends on what type of equality or inequality you're talking about. So if you find out that people have equal rights, no matter where they were born or something like that, that seems like a good sort of equality. Then there's other types like equality of height. Like it seems rather neutral whether two people are the same height or a different height. Unless there's like something very particular they're trying to get done. Like there are certain times it's very good to be tall and sometimes it's very good to be short. and it's really just a matter of what you're doing at that time. But in general, it's not like there are any particular heights we like better than any particular other heights.
Or like any value to height, like besides when you particularly apply it to a particular.
Yeah, so there's a sense in which, like, yeah, being super duper tall is only ever really, like, we think of it as a good thing in what sorts of, if you have certain goals in mind. So what are some times or some things you're trying to do where it's good to be tall? Basketball, very good one.
Sports doesn't matter.
And there's actually certain sports where you don't want to be that tall. Like figure skating. Like, I think if you get up to like 7'2", it like gets in the way of figure skating.
That's true.
Or gymnastics.
Oh, or what about like helping a neighbor to get the cat from the tree?
Yeah, exactly. That's another one. Like getting a cat out of a tree. The taller you are, the better. What if sometimes it's really good to be short?
When you try to walk into work unnoticed.
Yeah, when you're trying to be unnoticed, the smaller you are, the better. Or like, yeah, you're trying to hide. Like, if you're trying to hide, the smaller you are, the more places you can hide in. Other ones are, you know, if you're trying to get a piggyback ride, like the smaller you are, the longer you can get piggybacked around. Like, that's another good one. Like, there are lots of times where it's better, and it's totally depending on circumstance. But with these sorts of ones, like rights, value, opportunity, it seems like these sorts of ones are ones that we just generally think are good for everybody at all times. Now, with that in mind, with this type of equality, there are still some other types of things that seem more on the fence, where we want some degrees of equality and other degrees not so much. So some things that we think of where we're like, I'm not sure if we want perfect equality on this, but also we don't want so much inequality either. And so there are things that are kind of like, we're not quite sure what to think about them. So like, these ones, universally good. This one, with height and all, like, just seems neutral. But what are some where it's kind of on the fence?
I think it's important to distinguish the equality between men and female genders, because there is a biological difference. So even though we all equally are people, I think that's one that is not so clear, because
this is a really, really good one. There's a sense in which we want to say men and women are equal in the sense of they should be given the same rights and values and opportunities to do what they want to do. But there's also the simple fact that most people who identify as women are female, by which I mean people who adhere to the social norms of being a woman, generally also have female genitals and can carry babies and that sort of thing. And most of the people who identify as men are male. And the fact of the matter is there are physical differences between males and females. And because of that, and just like statistical averages, there's also the fact where we want to be able to say that there should be equal rights and values and opportunities, but you also have to recognize that there are physical differences between people that you need to take into account. So what having equal rights might look like might depend on who it is you're talking about. Like, if you want to say that men and women need to be treated equally, then part of what goes into that is taking into account the biological differences between them. So for instance, you need to take into account the fact that women are far more likely to give birth than men when deciding what equal rights for the two genders look like. So should you, in a perfectly equal society, is it more equal in the sense of equal value to give maternity leave and paternity leave the same amount of time? Or is it more equal to say no, because of the nature of who is carrying the baby, a woman should have more time off work than a mother should have more time off work than a father? And so these are the sorts of questions that are coming up, is you have to ask these questions of like, when you're looking at equal rights or equal value, what does that mean on the ground? Does it mean giving everyone the exact same amount of stuff? Or does it mean giving everyone the same opportunity to get stuff? Or does it mean giving everyone the same opportunity and then taking some away from the super successful to give to the less successful? What exactly does it look like? So that's really why equality is a much tougher issue than, like, you look at it, you go, everyone should have the same rights, same values, same opportunities. But as soon as you recognize that not everyone has the same physical abilities, what that looks like on the ground is a lot more complicated. So what are some other things like this where you look at it and you're like, on the one sense, we want these to be equal, but on the other, we don't quite know if we want it like exactly the same.
What about income inequality?
That's another really good one, and that's what we're going to be talking about. That's going to be our focus one today. And then next week, we're going to be talking about gender and then race. And we're going to talk about the differences with tech and race, tech and gender, and just the ways in which these things are changing equality and inequality and making more or less opportunities for people. And today we're going to be talking about income. So, when we're talking about income equality or inequality, what do we mean? No, this is supposed to be inequality. So,
It's like a little bit more specific than just like inequality or like income inequality, because it's not like somebody's making it more than somebody else, but it's the difference between the highest paid person and the lowest paid person in a particular.
yeah, so here's what we're talking about with income inequality, is how much money different people in a society make a year, is basically what it comes down to. You look at the richest person and how much money they make each year, and you look at the poorest person and you just compare. And in a perfectly equal society, what would it look like? Perfectly equal.
Everybody making the same.
Everyone makes the exact same amount of money, no matter what job you do, no matter what you want to do, no matter how much training you have. So that's a perfectly equal society.
How long you work.
But in this perfectly equal society, there is a law, opportunity of equality of opportunity and the equality of outcome.
Yeah. So this is exactly the case. Is how many of you would want to live in a society where everyone got paid the exact amount no matter what you were doing? On the one hand, you might be like, well, no one's going to be totally bankrupt. But what are the problems with this sort of society?
How do you manage it though?
Yeah, so there's one sense in which, like, on the one hand, everyone's making the same, but it's like, whatever job you have, if you're a brain surgeon and you studied for like 40 years and you're getting paid like the same amount as somebody who's just like, yeah, but even like a janitor takes some degree of like knowledge and skill. Like I'm talking about like somebody who literally just like
showed up like.
the person who's like, imagine the person whose job it is just to like lace shoelaces before they go into the box. Like, you could probably do that job with no training at all. Like, I bet you could all, or like the person who just like washes trays or something for McDonald's, where like they don't even usually get that dirty. Like dishwashing can take some real work, but like tray rinsing or something like that.
The tray that the customers use to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
They plate their tray from. Oh,
yeah. You just collect the tray.
Might have some ketchup.
Yeah, got some ketchup, but we're not talking like brain surgery. So like, there's a sense in which we're not really sure about that. And here's another issue. What's another issue with everyone gets paid the same amount no matter what they're doing?
Education's pointless.
Yeah, there's no point in getting educated because no matter how educated you are, you're going to get paid the same amount. That's another issue.
I just think it takes away from the class system, like of having like opportunity to grow or make.
Yeah, there's also a sense of like, part of the idea is that if you work hard, you want some reward for it. And if by definition you cannot get rewarded for it, there's no reason to work harder. Like imagine if my policy in this class was no matter what you turned in, you got an A.
Like I would just.
No matter what you did, you get an A. How many of you would pay attention in class?
No one.
Nobody.
Nobody except for like a handful of you who are very polite and find this interesting in its own right. How many of you would show up?
I wouldn't come back.
I mean, let's be honest, if I just gave all of you an A, I wouldn't show up. Like, why on earth would we all do this? And so that's another issue, is you don't want that degree of like equality of outcome where everyone gets the same amount of stuff. But on the other side, what's the issue about having a society with no rules at all? Like, no matter what happens, you just get whatever you can make.
People want to do work.
So one thing is, wait, say a little more.
Or they just chilling.
Yeah, is this in one with like complete equality or complete inequality? Yeah, complete equality, no one's gonna do, yeah, basically a society in which where everyone's equal, everyone will do nothing, and then what'll end up happening is we won't make anything and everything will get pulled down and we'll all be equally broke and nothing will get done. Now, imagine though we have a society that's completely unequal. Like, everyone just gets assigned a random amount of money, and then everyone just says, go. What's the problem here?
I think it'd be chaotic, like, I think there wouldn't be any order, like, there wouldn't be any, organization, like, people would, and then it would probably lead to, like, violence and.
Yeah, so
you know.
one major issue with inequality of wealth is that, like, the people who have nothing have to go to more extremes to get something. And the people who have a ton are able to just, you know, sit there, not do anything, and be perfectly well off. And so another issue, though, is what do we mean by equality of opportunity? And these ones here, where everyone has the same rights, same values, same opportunities, what do we mean by equal opportunities? Gleb?
That you practically get a chance, and if you don't use it, you practically get nothing as a result.
Yeah, so the idea behind equality of opportunity is that everyone starts at the same place. So in the Olympics, you've got like the races, like where they run around in a circle real fast. Where do they start?
At the starting line.
At the starting line. How many starting lines are there? There's one. Everyone is at the same place. How dumb would the Olympics be if one person started 10 feet from the finish line and everyone else started 100 yards away? It would be the most boring race ever. It's like, okay, so the guy who happened to start in the front won. Like, oh, that's very exciting. Like, okay, the fact that he had to go 10 feet, wow, what a surprise he won. What an exciting race. So that's part of the issue is we want equality of opportunity. And why do we like equality of opportunity? There's a few different reasons. Why is it that you want everyone to start at about the same place?
It probably will sound a little bit cruel, but yet creates a competitive edge. It creates an atmosphere of fairness.
Yeah.
And in this regard, if we just approach this from a deontological point of view, we take this as a equal inherent value or dignity. We hence give them a space to compete. Otherwise, this equal order allows us to compete in an otherwise not necessarily bad unequal ground.
Yeah. So one of the things.
Yeah, I think that this type of competitiveness is what creates your true value. Like, it's when you have this type of competitiveness and you have a fair, like, if everybody starts at the same ground and they have the same starting point, and then somebody's able to make it to the next level, they've proven their value, and that's the only way to show that value.
That's exactly the idea here. You two are both spot on. The idea is that with equal opportunity, if everyone starts at the same point, then whoever gets the farthest is the one who's the best at it. And we want, if you own a business, you want the best workers. If you are starting a sports team, you want the best players. So much of society is based on you want the people who are best at a particular job or a particular skill to be the ones doing that. And the best way to find out who's the best is to start everyone at the same point. So in the same way, that like the reason that we have everyone in the Olympics start at the exact same point is if what we're interested in is finding the fastest person in the world, the only way we're going to be able to accurately do that is if we put them all at the same point. And we tell them all, you have to wear generally the same things. It's not like we tell Usain Bolt, to make it more fair, you have to wear a 40-pound backpack to run in the race. The goal is to find out who is the fastest human being. And so we want everyone to start off on an equal playing field, or at the same point, equal playing field. Give everyone the same chance to succeed. Also, there's the fact of like, you don't necessarily know what your life is like. You are born, what determines where you're born? It's basically random. It's just like you happen to have been born and become the person who was born to your two parents. And like what your parents did, there's no, like wherever, pick a random baby, like what their parents were like, it's totally, you know, like, well, it's luck of the draw. Maybe your parents happened to, you know, be born in America, maybe they were born somewhere else, maybe they were born somewhere else. You don't really know like when you're born or what might happen to you in your life. Like you might get in a car accident, which will lead to problems and make certain things more difficult. And just because, you know, you have like a leg amputated, but you're still very smart. You don't want to be, like, you don't know what's going to happen to you in life. You want your opportunities left open to you. And to make sure that you, if you are interested in something and you have skill at it, can succeed and help other people. And the idea is the only way to make sure that the best people get to where they need to be and the people who are interested and dedicated actually end up with the opportunities to succeed and to get what they want is everyone has to start at the same point. So that's why we care about equal opportunity. So now, back to income inequality. Why do we care about income inequality? I just went on this long spiel about opportunity equality, and now income inequality. Why am I talking about them at the same time?
Gender.
So yes, that is definitely part of it, but how is it tied in? So we'll come back more and more to this, of just like, what exactly in this particular case about gender? So you're definitely spot on.
It's because because women tend to have more maternity leaves or like paid leaves than men. Like, it's one reason why men tend to earn higher compared to women when it comes to like rate, like earning rate.
So yeah, so one thing just about gender here is we're talking about here, I think, so you're talking in the area of exactly what we're talking about. But I'm going to save that particular point about income inequality and stuff for our gender bit. Just more generally though, why are these two being talked about at the same time?
Because usually wealth means greater opportunity.
Yeah, so here's the main difference. Is the more money you have, the more opportunities you have. And that's just this unfortunate fact of, for instance, if you have more money, what opportunities do you have that somebody else might not? Just think about schooling. Compare somebody whose parents make, say, a single mom who makes $50,000 a year with one child, and a couple, each one of which makes $10 million a year with one child. What does the difference in potential for education for this child look like?
Highest place.
Pardon?
Highest place.
Sorry.
Highest place you can study.
Yeah, exactly. So what are some more on this point?
I mean, I think like, it's just true about capitalists. Like, in the capitalist world, like that's the opportunity. Like, if you lived in a world where, you know, if you had enough like corn, then you would be the wealthiest person in the world, and you would be able to start off in the world, you know, at the highest spot than anybody else. But you live in a capitalist world.
Yeah, so here's the main issue here, is we have these two pulling things. We don't want a society in which everybody's income is equal. Because if we have a society in which everyone is just given a flat income, the issue is that nobody would do anything. But on the other side, so because of that, we want people to get rewarded for what they do. So in this case, we want the people who work harder and who get trained longer and all to make more money. The issue is that as soon as you make more money, you then have opportunities which somebody else might not have. So we, in some sense, we don't want complete income equality, but we also want equality of opportunity. And the issue is they pull in opposite directions. The more unequal you are economically speaking, the more unequal you are in terms of opportunity. But the more equal you are in terms of money, like to force money to be equal, and thereby making opportunity more equal, you're cutting down on people's ability to get rewarded for what they do. So there's this issue which is like, the more you make, the more opportunities you have, but the more you make, to get, for a society to be fair, you want people to end up with what they deserve. But the more money people make and pass down to their children, the less opportunity for people who don't have what those people have. So everyone just understand the general gist here. And so the big issue is we are all finding ourselves pulled in two directions. On the one hand, we don't want a society in which, like, the number one, the fact of the matter is, in America, if you want to know if your child is going to be a millionaire, what's the best thing to find out?
If their parents are a millionaire.
Yeah, are you a millionaire? If you are a millionaire, odds are really high your child will be a millionaire. If you are not a millionaire, odds are really low your child is going to be a millionaire. And that's just the fact of the matter. Because the amount of money that they are going to inherit from you and the number of opportunities they will have from the money is going to greatly increase the chances of you having access. But on the other